difficult as the actor to read. But as the character, it gave him another dimension to play and brings another value to Clark that I don't think he would have been able to bring if he hadn't lost his powers, you know. So I think it makes him a much more vulnerable personage, and hopefully they'll expand on that. I mean, we had a great scene in the episode where I got shot, where we all were like, you know, we got each other's back, and we can't let what's happening with the police happen to us. And then they kind of dropped the ball on that. We didn't really pick that up. I'm hoping that they pick that thread up, and they show us, you know, kind of watching each other's back and kind of giving each other, you know, a leg up and some support. Because I think, you know, Oliver definitely needs it. You know, he's a bit of a lone wolf, and you know, it must be difficult as that character to operate alone all the time. For John, he definitely needs support and could use the camaraderie of this kind of vague Justice League, and Clark absolutely needs it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I hope that they do what the fans want.
Mr. Hartley,
yes.
When you found out at Hooters the Green Arrow, did you do any research?
Yeah.
Extensive research at all?
Yeah. Well, you know, how do I start? Yeah. Well, I did. It was quicker for me because I had done the Aquaman pilot. So, and for me, honestly with you, I didn't collect comics. I had friends who collected comics. I collected baseball cards, and I mean, that was my thing. It was like, you know, I was as dedicated to that as they were to comics. I mean, I could read, you know, the back of every card. Ridiculous. I knew everything. But comics weren't my thing, so I didn't necessarily grow up with it. So I was kind of a novice when it came to, you know, all of them really. And what I found out when I did the Aquaman pilot, really quickly, I found out, someone gave me a really good piece of advice and said, you know, Justin, if you're going to do a character where people are either going to love the way you did it or they're going to hate the way you did it. There's no one's going to say, hey, he's all right. They're going to love it or they're going to hate it, because you're either going to get it right or you're not going to get it right. So I hit the books, and I hit the internet, and I hit the comics, and I spent a ton of money buying comic books. So I wanted to have them at my disposal, and then I learned, you know, there's different versions of stuff, and it evolves, and it goes back, and people rewrite certain. So in doing that, I kind of learned that the best way for me, anyway, to study, because there's pictures in them also, I mean, let's be honest, is the comics. I mean, I can read it, and then I can look at it, and I'm a visual learner, and I go, great, that's what I read. And so I've actually asked them to do my scripts that way. I'm like, can I see the storyboards? Yeah, no luck on that yet. But so the comics were the best way for me to go about you know, researching it, and I definitely try to go above and beyond. I think I don't think you can go above and beyond as far as research goes, but I go as far as I can, because the worst thing that can happen is, I think, the inevitable thing, which always happens, which is you realize afterwards what you were playing. So I try to, you know, look at all the comics and stuff like that. Now I've got quite an extensive collection. I don't have 20,000, but I bet you I have 2,000. You know.
When you did the Superman serial, then they went ahead in 1951 and filmed Without You with another Lois Lane. Were you shocked that they came back to you and asked you to be in, considering no one else from the serial was approached to do the TV series, and then they came around and asked you again?
No, I was doing the show, as you mentioned, with Kirk Allen, and we did 30 episodes, and for Columbia, and all of a sudden the phone rang, and this he said, "This is Mr. Whatever from New York. Would you like to be Lois Lane again?" And I said, "Sure, fine, it's work." And so just really simple. And then I got back there and found out why Kellogg's had put some money into the show. And they said, our people sell cereal to women for little children, so they don't want any violence, any blood, or any of that stuff. So they had to just redo and eliminate it and threw away the first 26 they made, and the people concerned with it. Thank you. Nameless. And so we just started out and kept it.
Who do you think was a better Superman, Kirk Allen or George Reeves?
Oh, George, definitely. Oh, he was an actor. I mean, he had studied. And Kirk was a dancer in New York, a ballet dancer, when they found him. Of course, he made good jumps and leaps out of windows and doors. He was very good, but he was, I found out later, of course, he was very miserable that he hadn't been asked or chosen or whatever to try to be Superman again, but he went on and did conventions and married a rich lady and died. Good finish, good finish. Thank you.
Marilyn, I want to ask you a question. You worked with George Reeves in 2 different genres. And I would like for you to share your impressions of George Reeves the first time you saw him in the suit, and then when you worked with him in the Ford theater presentation, Heart of Gold. Can you share your thoughts on that?
Well, when I did Superman in the Mole Man, have any of you seen Superman in the Mole Man? Well, I was the little girl, you know, when the Mole Man climbed in through the window and we played ball. So for me, because I was only 8 years old at the time, the name George Reeves meant nothing to me, but Superman meant everything. So we didn't have a scene together, but he was on the set with his, you know, Superman outfit, and I was just so thrilled to see Superman on the set. And it wasn't until, you know, years later when I became an adult that I thought, wow, I got to work with George Reeves and meet him, and how cool is that? But when you're little, you have a completely different concept of, you know, Superman meant more to me than George Reeves. And then about a year later, I was cast in a TV show called Heart of Gold, and George Reeves was the father, Anita Louise was the mother, and then Tommy Reddick, who later was in Lassie, and I were the children. And in it, in fact, I have some pictures from it where George Reeves puts this gold heart locket around my neck, and then my brother Tony and I go out and we put this in a snowman, and the snowman was played by Edmund Gwenn. And they had him all dressed up like a snowman, but it was actually made out of cotton. And in the story, I take my locket off and put it in the snowman, and it comes to life. But because I was so young, it was very confusing to me, because I didn't realize that he had been Superman. Because when I saw him, he was in his, you know, his Superman costume. So somebody had mentioned that he was Superman, and it was very confusing to me, because now Superman's my dad. And so, you know, being 8, I couldn't quite grasp that. And so I asked my mother, and I guess she didn't want to burst my bubble. So she just told me that he was play acting, that he was Superman, but he was play acting as my daddy in this TV show. And I bought it. So, not too right, I guess.